Chemistry in everyday life. This is your another chapter in organic chemistry of class 12. Now I am going to start this portion because it is very easy and simple chapter. So first I will complete this chapter, then I will again return to the electrochemistry. This chapter contains drugs, classification of drugs, drugs target interaction, enzymes as drug target, receptors as drug target, types of drugs, chemicals in food, cleansing agent, and in another video I will share with you the dyes, different types of natural and synthetic dyes which are also chemicals of everyday life. So first, drugs, chemical substances of natural or synthetic origin which are used for curing diseases and reducing suffering from pain are called drugs or medicine. Normally students, whenever anyone said the drug words, you are think that this is a types of narcotics or nasila dabai. But actually every drugs are not narcotics. Drugs means the substances which are natural or synthetic origin uh, used for curing the disease is called drugs. Drug is a chemical substances which are cure the disease but is habit forming, causes addiction and has serious side effects. Remember it. A medicine is a chemical substance which cures the disease, is safe to use, has negligible toxicity and does not cause any addiction. Here, difference of narcotic drugs and medicines are given here. Actually, drug normally common people use drug word for narcotic substances or the substances which are cures disease but habit forming. We are addiction of this and it has serious side effects. But medicine is a chemical substances which cures the disease, safe to use and negligible toxicity and does not cause any addiction. Classification of drugs. Drugs can be classified in a number of ways on the basis of pharmacological effect, on the basis of drug action. On the basis of pharmacological effect, useful for doctors as it provides a whole range of drugs available for the treatment of a particular type of problem. Example, analgesics have pain-killing effect. And other is on the basis of drug action. It is based on the action of a drug on a particular biochemical process. Example, all antihelminthics inhibit the action of the compound. On the basis of chemical structure, another classification, drugs classified in the way share common structural features and often have similar pharmacological activity. Example, sulfonamides have common structural features. Examples are given here, ammonia NH2 in benzene ring and other sites, S double bond O double bond O means SO2 NHR. Sulfur containing drugs or amides is here, so it is called sulfonamides. On the basis of molecular target, drugs usually interact with biomolecules such as lipid, proteins. These are called target molecules or drug targets. Drugs possessing some common structural features may have the same mechanism or action on targets. We will explain about targets later, but here understand what is given. This is the classification in which it is depends on the molecular target, in which target it is acts. On the basis of drugs can be classified. Now Drug target interaction, how drug works or acts. Macromolecules of biological origin, macromolecules means which are bigger in size or larger size molecules, perform various functions in the body. For example, protein which performs the role of biological catalyst in the body are called enzymes. Catalyst means what? The substances or the chemicals or the compounds which are works on the chemical reaction as a increase the rate of chemical reaction. So when in our body protein molecules used to increase the rate of any chemical function of our body, that is called enzymes. Another type of protein which are crucial to communication system in the body are called receptors. Biostudents easily understand this, which are receptors which communicate the system in our body, means which recept some informations and acts reverse on it. Those proteins which carry polar molecules across the membranes are called carrier proteins. So in this way different types of molecules or functions are there in our body. So how the drug work on it or enzymes as drug target. Catalytic action of enzymes. The first function of an enzyme is to hold the substrate for a chemical reaction. Active sites of enzymes hold the substrate molecule in a suitable position so that it can be attracted by the reagent effectively. I repeat this portion. Listen it very carefully. The enzyme is to hold the substrate for a chemical reaction. How the enzyme work? It holds the substrate in a chemical reaction. You can see in first figure active site is given there and one substrate B is the substrate there. This substrate means the substance which used for example when in the digestive system this is work, digestion of the macromolecules like lipid or protein, it holds by the enzyme in suitable position. Then after, the second function of an enzyme is to provide functional groups that will attack the substrate and carry out the chemical reaction. These enzymes provide functional groups which attract with the substrate and carry out the chemical reaction. Then a chemical reaction is proceed there. Drug inhibit the attachment of substrate on active sites of enzyme in two different ways. For what happen if drug will take any drug, then instead of substrate, this drug hold on the enzyme and inhibit to attachment of substrate on the active site and the work or function is stopped there. Drugs compete with the natural substrate for their attachment in the active sites of enzyme. Such drugs are competitive inhibitors. You can see in the figure which is I'll explain here. Enzyme, active site, substrate are there, but drugs is more active, so it's attached or hold on the active site and inhibit to react substrate with the enzyme. This is type of competitive inhibitors. Some drugs do not bind to the enzyme's active site. These bind to a different sites of enzyme which is called allostatic site. This binding or inhibitor at allostatic site changes the shape of the active site in such a way that substrate cannot recognize it. I'll explain this again. Listen it very carefully. That first type is that it acts on the active site drugs, but sometimes some enzymes or drugs are not bind with the active sites. It bind with another site and change the shape of the enzyme. Now, receptor as drug targets. Receptors are proteins which are crucial to the communication system in the body. Majority of these are embedded in cell membranes in such a way that their small part possessing the active site projects out of the surface of the membrane and opens in the outside region of the cell membrane. In the body, messages between two neurons and that being between neurons to muscle is communicated through the certain chemicals in a nervous system. Chemicals are there. That is called chemical messengers are and received at the binding sites of receptor proteins. To accommodate a messenger shape of the receptor site changes. This brings about the transfer of message into the cell. This chemical messenger gives message to the cell without entering the cell. Now, types of drugs. Antacids is one of the example and very common drugs which are available every house of India, I think so. Those substances which neutralizes the excess acid and raise the pH to an appropriate level in stomach are called antacid. Most commonly used antacids are sodium bicarbonate, magnesium hydroxide, etc. These are chemical names, but actually will we purchased drugs in commercial name. Some important drugs: cimetidine, rentidine, etc. Here the structure of the different drugs are given. Drugs used recently: omeprazole, lansoprazole, etc. Next type of drug is antihistamines. The hypersensitivity of some persons to some drugs, dust, pollen grains, cat fur, etc. is called allergy and is due to release of a substance called histamine in the body. The drugs which interfere with the natural action of histamine by competing with histamine for binding sites of receptor where histamine exert its effects are called antihistamines or anti-allergic drugs. The antihistamines which are widely used are bromophenramine or terfenadine. I explain very stressfully to pronounce it because it is some complex name. Neurologically active drugs. Tranquilizer. Drugs which are used for the treatment of stress, fatigue, mild and severe mental disease are called tranquilizers. These relieve anxiety, stress, irritability by inducing a sense of well-being. If a person suffers from depression, in such cases, antidepressant drugs are used. The important antidepressant drugs are ipronazide and phenylazine. The diagrams or structure of ipronazide and phenylazine also given here. Analgesics, neurologically active drugs which reduce or abolish pain without causing impairment of consciousness, mental confusion, incoordination or paralysis or some other disturbance or disorder of the nervous system are called analgesics. These can be classified into two categories: non-narcotic analgesics and narcotic analgesics. Non-narcotic analgesics are medications used to control pain and inflammations. Non-narcotic are used to treat acute or persistent pain that is mild to moderate. They also may be used in combination with other medications or therapies to treat moderate to severe pain. Aspirin, Morphine or Advil or ibuprofen and Aleve or naproxen. Naproxen sodium is the full name of this compound. These are non-narcotic analgesics which are especially used to relieve pain. We normally use these non-narcotic analgesics. Narcotic analgesics are also the medicines that medication mimic the activity of endorphin substances produced by the body to control pain. Narcotics are used to treat acute pain relatively to surgery and other medical procedures, as well as for persistence and breakthrough pain that is moderate to severe. When pain is very severe, example, any breaking of bones, joining the bones, or any accident trauma, or in surgery case, then this type of narcotic analgesics are used to relieve pain. Morphine and many of its homologs, when administered in medical doses, relieve pain and produce sleep. But morphine is poisonous, so excess dose is not used here. This produces stupor, coma, ultimately death. Heroin, morphine, codeine are the example or name of this type of narcotic drugs. Antimicrobials, drugs which are used to cure disease caused by the microbes or microorganisms such as bacteria, virus, fungi, etc. are called antimicrobials. Antibiotics, these are chemical substances which low concentration either kill or inhibit the growth of microorganisms by intervening in their metabolic processes. Antibiotics is types of antimicrobials which are also obtained from the bacteria, culturing the bacteria in a system. For first antibiotic is penicillin. Structure is here given. General structure of penicillin: RC double bond O NH, NH2 double bond O SH CH3 CH3 COH is the formula of this. Types of antibiotics: bacterial and bacteriostatic are two types. Bacterial are penicillin, aminoglycosides or streptomycin, ofloxacin. Erythromycin, tetracycline, chloramphenicol are the bacteriostatic. Full range of microorganisms attacked by an antibiotic is called a spectrum. Antibiotics which kill or inhibit a wide range of gram-positive and gram-negative bacteria are called broad-spectrum antibiotics. Chloramphenicol and ofloxacin, etc. are the example of this. The antibiotics which are effective mainly against gram-positive or gram-negative bacteria are narrow-spectrum antibiotics. Penicillin, G, etc. the example. The antibiotics which are effective against a single organism or a disease, they are called limited spectrum antibiotics. Antiseptics and disinfectants are another type of drugs. Antiseptics are the chemical substances which prevent the growth of microorganisms and may even kill them. They are safe to be applied to living tissues. Commonly used antiseptics: Dettol is a mixture of chloroxylenol or tetrapenacol. Furazine, sopramycin, etc. is example. Disinfectants are chemical substances which kill microorganisms but are not safe to be applied to living tissues. These are applied to inanimate objects such as floors, drainage system, etc. Means Lysol, phenol, which are used for cleaning and disinfectant the floor. Here example: 1% of solution of phenol work as disinfectant, 0.2 to 0.4 ppm in aqueous solution of chlorine, and low concentration of sulfur dioxide are disinfectant. Anti-fertility drugs, chemical substances which are used to check pregnancy in women, are called anti-fertility drugs or birth control pills or oral contraceptives. These control the female menstrual cycle and ovulation. Some of the commonly used pills contain a mixture of norethindrone, progesterone derivative, and novostrol or ethinostradiol estrogens. All such drugs are expected to have side effects and hence should be used under proper medical advice. Anti-fertility drugs means what? Which control the birth, or uh, birth control pills are called anti-fertility drugs. It controls either uh, hormones, estrogens or progesterone. So students, this is only drugs portion of chemistry in everyday life. Next video I'll send you, explain you drugs, chemicals of food. Up to that you read it, write notes on your notebook through it. It is total a note which I prepare on PPT, and I'll explain through by my voice. So please note down these. Thank you.